All right, everyone, welcome to Strictly Sports. I'm Jacob Brown, joined with Stephen Cash, and we're going to do our Arizona Diamondbacks 2020 season preview. They were 85 and 77 last season, finished second place in the NL West. We're going to do it how we always do it: adds and subtractions, lineup, bench, starting rotation, bullpen prospects, and then where they'll place in the division. So this is a better team than the teams that we've been doing the last 2 days. Who have they lost in the offseason? They lost Gerard Dyson, center fielder of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They lost Matt Andriese in a trade with the Angels. Alex Avila and Adam Jones, two vets, leave. Taijuan Walker, a guy that hasn't been able to stay healthy, goes back to his former team in Seattle. Steven Souza Jr. blew his knee out last year. Now he's with the Cubs. And then they also lost Robbie Scott and Yoshihisa Hirayano, who was a pretty productive reliever for them. Who did they add, though? Well, they had a great offseason. They added starting pitcher Madison Bumgarner to a big 5-year contract from the San Francisco Giants to lead the rotation. They added a top 5 center fielder from the Pittsburgh Pirates, Starling Marte. He's a tremendous player. Then they add Hector Rondon, a really effective reliever from the Houston Astros. They add a 30-plus home run outfielder in Cole Calhoun from the Los Angeles Angels. They add a reliever, Junior Guerra, and then a catcher, Stephen Vogt, major league veteran from the Giants. So let's look at that lineup, and it's a really good one. Leading off and playing center field, Starling Marte had a 119 weighted run created plus with a 353 WOBA, 23 home runs, and 82 RBIs with a 342 on base. Ketel Marte, this dude is one of the best players in baseball, and people really don't know about him. He's going to switch from center field to second base. He's a switch hitter, hit 32 homers and 92 RBIs with a 405 WOBA and a 150 weighted run created plus. Now that he's at second base, I have him as the best second baseman in baseball. Then you move on to the third baseman, switch hitting third baseman Eduardo Escobar hit 35 bombs with 118 RBIs, a 341 WOBA, and a 109 weighted run created plus. Then Christian Walker, the first baseman, will clean up, hit 29 bombs with 73 ribbies, a 346 WOBA, and a 112 weighted run created plus. Then David Peralta missed a lot of time, only played 99 games with 12 home runs, 30 ribbies, a 338 WOBA, and a 107 weighted run created plus. But he hit 30-plus home runs in 2018. Then Carson Kelly, I have him hitting sixth. You can have it any way you want. Maybe you have Calhoun hitting fifth and Peralta seventh, but I have Kelly splitting up the lefties hitting sixth. He hit 18 bombs and 47 ribbies in 111 games with a 339 WOBA and a 108 weighted run created plus. Then Cole Calhoun, the right fielder, hit 33 bombs with 74 RBIs, a 330 WOBA, and a 108 weighted run created plus. And then you have Nick Ahmed, the shortstop, just received an extension on the contract, 19 home runs, 82 RBIs, a 315 WOBA, 92 weighted run created plus, so just below league average. So you look at that lineup, every hitter in that lineup is above league average 1 through 7, and then Nick Ahmed is only slightly below league average. What do you think about this about this lineup, Steven?
I like it a whole lot. Look at the 1-2 punch, even 1-2-3 in the first three in the starting lineup. Starling Marte, very undervalued, I think, in the league. 23 homers, 82 RBIs last year. His weighted runs created plus is well above league average. And Ketel Marte, you can't say enough about him. 32 homers, 92 RBIs. He's almost in that elite category of 100 RBIs in a season. And his weighted runs created plus is a 150. It's impressive. And Eduardo Escobar, 118 RBIs, 35 homers. There you go. Two in your 2-3 hole, you're averaging, almost you're at 100 RBIs per batter there. And then you go down the line and adding a guy like Cole Calhoun, who I like a whole lot. His approach to the plate is solid. I like it. He's got a smooth swing, keeps it simple. His home runs come, almost naturally. He doesn't try to launch the ball out of the ballpark. He stays through the middle of the field. Home runs just come to him. 33 homers, 74 RBIs. And the only drop-off you have is Nick Ahmed. But that's not a huge drop-off.
No,
His
yeah.
weighted runs created plus, or it's a 92. But you're still got a guy who's hit 19 homers, 82 RBIs. So if that's your worst spot in the lineup, you're in pretty good shape. And David Peralta, like you said, missed some time last year, only 99 games. So you get him staying healthy all year. You've got a solid lineup that can really compete with the Dodgers. And going out and getting a Madison Bumgarner, we'll touch on the pitching after our starting lineup here. But they did a whole lot of good things in the offseason to prime themselves to compete with a Dodgers team has been loaded for the last 3 or 4 years.
100%. And this is a team that, they traded Paul Goldschmidt, they traded Zach Greinke. Everyone acted like the world was ending. No, they actually got really good returns for those players. They got Carson Kelly, catcher, way above league average catcher for Paul Goldschmidt, and it's productive. And then they trade away Zach Greinke, and they got a ton of prospects for him. They got Luke Weaver as one of those prospects, and he's going to be a part of the rotation. We'll get to that in a second. But I look at the two Martes. They're going to really be the linchpins in this lineup with Eduardo Escobar. I love the switch hitting element too, just stacking up two switch hitters in a row. I love that. You can go any way, though. I mean, I'm looking at this lineup. You could theoretically say, okay, we could put Calhoun in the cleanup spot, maybe put Walker fifth, Peralta six, Kelly seven. I mean, you can go a ton of different ways with this lineup. I just had Christian Walker cleaning up because he was there and he hit 29 bombs. But, I mean, you could totally say, hey, Calhoun, you go clean up to put the lefty in the cleanup spot. I really like this lineup.
Ability of this lineup is it's impressive, and that's why they can compete in this NL West division. And you like I said, you could put Cole Calhoun in the 5 spot, you could put Peralta down in the 7. I mean, you can shift it either way. I mean, the consistency of this lineup you can have is the 1, 2, 3 the two Martes, Escobar. They're going to be your 1, 2, 3 punch all year. I don't think you mess around with that. You can obviously flip flop them. Who's leading off one day. And just they're both switch hitters, Marte and Escobar, Kentel, that is. I mean, so you can, if there's a lefty going, you can roll Escobar up there at the leadoff spot. So there's a lot of good things you can do with this lineup, and it could be dangerous for some teams rolling through and trying to win a few games out in Arizona. And really, it's a team that's going to be tough to compete against because they can go 1 through 8 solid, and then their pitching staff is almost even par with their hitting.
Yeah, let's get to that starting rotation. Before we do that, I'll just mention who's on the bench. Jake Lamb has been a really impressive power hitter in the past. He's just the odd man out right now. I don't see him getting a ton of playing time. They also have Stephen Vogt, backup catcher. They have Vargas on the bench, Tim LaCastro. Not that bad. Tim LaCastro is pretty good, but he's a bench player. And they have Rojas or Kevin Cron in that final bench spot. So let's look at that rotation. So the new acquisition, Madison Bumgarner, this is rare, man. I mean, Madison Bumgarner at his age and how many years he's pitched, the fact that he's still going out there, 34 games started, 207 and 2/3 innings with a 3.90 ERA. His FIP was exactly the same, striking out more per nine. His Ks per nine are going up, 8.8 per nine, and he struck out 203. And then you look at 2 through 4 in that rotation, really 2 through 5. And you could look at any of those 4 starters and say one of them could be the 2 starter, one of them could be the 3. It really could go any way. Right now, most sites have Mike Leake as the number 2 starter just because he pitched the most innings last year, 197 innings, 4.29 ERA, a 5.19 FIP, doesn't strike out a lot of people. I also have him in the 2 spot is because Robbie Ray is a left-handed starter, and they don't want to have 2 lefties in a row starting with that rotation. So even if Robbie Ray might be better than Mike Leake or might be better than Luke Weaver, you kind of have to split up the lefties in that rotation. But Robbie Ray, his ERA might have gone up, but his strikeouts per nine, 12.13 per nine. That's crazy. And with 235 strikeouts, that's 174 innings too. So crazy strikeout numbers. But the reason the ERA went up, his walks are 4.3 per nine. That's way too high. Then Luke Weaver, 12 starts, 2.94 ERA, 9.65 Ks per nine. So that's a really good strikeout ratio. I'm predicting right now, I think Luke Weaver will be considered the number 2 at the end of the year. And then Zach Gallen, they got from Miami. We mentioned it in our Marlins pod. Why the hell did the Padres get rid of Zach Gallen? This is a guy, 80 innings, 10.8 strikeouts per nine, 2.81 ERA, and 880 innings. The walks were a little high at 4, but that can go down. He's a young kid. What do you think of this rotation, Steven?
I like it a whole lot. A guy who's going to be a workhorse, as we've seen in previous years, is Madison Bumgarner. He's proven he can do it. He logs probably, I think, the most innings in all of Major League Baseball, and he doesn't want to give up the ball in a game. He's going to finish what he started and I love that about him. He just wants to win. He'll run through a wall for his team. The numbers are still there for him. 3.90 ERA last year. His Ks per nine were a little bit lower than I think in previous years. 8.8 per nine. His walks have always been. I mean, that's what I love about him. He doesn't ever give a free pass, hardly at all. He makes the batters work. It's not an easy approach when you're going up and facing Bumgarner from the left hand side, and having a 1.86 walks per nine is beautiful. It's what you want from your ace. And then you go down a 2-3 hole and Leake and Robbie Ray. I mean, both guys that are proven they can do it in the league. I think Robbie Ray could be slotted up in that 2 hole just because he can strike one. He can strike a lot of guys out, but like you said, what hurts him a whole lot is his walks per nine. And to be a starting pitcher in the major leagues, you have to get that below a 4. I mean, it's just too high. You're giving up too many base runners, and it leads to a disastrous inning. Too many free opportunities. It's going to hurt you too down the line in the major leagues. But guys that you go down the 4 and 5 holes, Luke Weaver, Zach Gallen, only roughly 15 starts last year for Gallen, 12 starts for Weaver. You double those numbers, and they're going to be a good additions for the back ends of your rotation. And Weaver could be, like you said, he could be a 2-hole guy. He's got the numbers: 2.9 ERA. His FIP is low. Strikeouts per nine, right where you want it to be, and his walks per nine is low, right with Bumgarner. So you could have him go in the 2 spot with Bumgarner if he shows that he can, have that longevity with, 20 plus starts in a year. But I like what they got going in this Arizona rotation.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's a real thing? I mean, do you think they'll just put Robbie Ray in that 3 spot just because they don't want 2 lefty starters 2 days in a row?
Yeah, I think you want to mix up the looks because going to a weekend series, you can load up lefty lefty depending on who you're matching up against. If you're going up against a lefty heavy lineup, let's say, then you can load up and have Bumgarner, Robbie Ray at the 1-2 spot in a weekend series. You're at the face 2 lefties, but generally they would kind of like to spread it out so you can get different looks for these pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, but 12 strikeouts per nine is pretty crazy. I think that might be one of the highest we've seen from a starting pitcher. That's where the bullpen guys are in that 10 plus type of range. I mean, I think the highest other than Robbie Ray that we've seen is probably Chris Archer. But I will also say we didn't look at the Nationals, and we could look that up now and see what Strasburg and Scherzer and all those guys were at. But regardless, that's a high strikeout per nine.
Yeah, I mean, it shows his stuff is deceptive, and he's getting the ball by guys. I mean, with ease, and you don't see that a whole lot today in this day and age of guys above a 10 strikeouts per nine, just because all the saber metrics we got, the technology, guys aren't striking out a whole lot. There's just guys are putting the ball in play more. But what's hurt him, like we said, was the walks per nine. And like Archer, yeah, he has a 12 strikeout per nine as well. I think almost with par with
It's the
Robbie Ray,
walks.
but they hurt each other with the walks. I mean, you can strike out as many guys as you want. I've said it before plenty of times. But if you're walking guys consistently in an inning, you're giving up 1 walk per inning, let's say. I mean, you're not setting yourself up for success, and you can strike out as many guys as you want, but it's going to end up catching up to you eventually.
For sure. I mean, and actually talking about his strikeouts per nine, I just looked up Jacob deGrom is at an 11.25 strikeouts per nine. So Ray's better in that. Max Scherzer has a 12.69 Ks per nine. So he's actually the highest that we've seen, Scherzer. And Scherzer's walk rate is still tells you how incredible Max Scherzer is at 35 years old. And then Steven Strasburg at 31 years old, his strikeouts per nine is in the tens. So Robbie Ray is right up there with all those guys. But like you just said, him and Archer, just get the walks down. You could be like one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I don't know if it's just, these guys are over analyzing it, or just, what's the issue here? Why are you walking so much? I think it kind of hones into the fact that you're trying to be too fine, and then you get the mentality of you want to strike every single guy out. In reality, you've got good enough stuff to strike guys out. Look to more of like putting the ball in play. Let your guys behind you play, and then the strikeouts will come. They walk guys too much because they want to pick the corner every single at bat, and they want to, average 10 strikeouts a game. But it's just not going to happen until those guys really hone in on just, trusting your stuff a whole lot. The strikeouts will come naturally. Then those walks you'll see to start to creep down. And,
Yeah. And another thing too is Ray's innings. I mean, he had one more start than Mike Leake and 25 less innings. So the walks also take away from how much you can pitch.
yeah, for sure. I mean, you're walking more guys, your pitch count, it skyrockets, and you're not getting as many innings as you want per start, and that's what ends up hurting these guys whose their walk ratios are so high.
Yeah, for sure. And now we move into that bullpen, and this is another strength of this team. Archie Bradley, really effective reliever. Hector Rondon, Junior Guerra, Andrew Chafin, Merrill Kelly. They have Corbin Martin, a prospect they got in the Greinke trade. So this bullpen, they've got some arms, a 7, 8, 9, I guess you could say, of Chafin, Rondon, Bradley. Ain't that bad.
Yeah, they're like we talked about with the Padres. I mean, you get to the seventh inning and you could have a shutdown back end of the bullpen that's a winning formula. If you have guys you can roll out there and you can mix and match with different guys and in different situations, you're going to set yourself up for success. And I like Bradley out of the back end of the bullpen. Last year he had a 3.52 ERA. His WHIP was a 1.44. Strikeouts per 9. 10.9. And I mean, so that's pretty good. I mean, so if your bullpen guys are getting above a 10 strikeout per 9 ratio, you're setting yourself up in a good spot.
For sure. I mean, I don't think that bullpen's as good as San Diego's, but it's right there with it. And what would you give this D-backs team? Oh, actually, we have to do the prospects first. So Arizona has a number 43 overall prospect in the top 100, outfielder Christian Robinson. 9 homers, 35 RBIs in 44 games at single A. That's 19 years old. That's really impressive to me, Steven. I mean, a 19-year-old hitting 9 home runs at that age is pretty impressive, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you don't see too many young guys like just knocking balls out of the ballpark left and right at such a at such a young age. I mean, usually the homers take about depending on the guy. I mean, usually about a year and a half into it, you start to see the power. You're hitting the weights every day. You're getting adjusted to the pro game. But at 19 years old, 9 home runs, 35 RBIs, and only a short sample size. Who knows what the ceiling is for Christian
And not
Robinson?
just him too.
Even
Yeah.
looking at Alex
Yep.
Thomas too. I mean, they're 19 as well, and almost identical stat lines. A little bit more games, 91 games, 8 homers, 48 RBIs, but two guys that are really young and have so much potential in this Diamondback
And they
system.
have room for them too, because while Calhoun is a great bat and while Peralta is a great bat, they're in their 30s in terms of age. So they can, maybe platoon those guys, mix and match in left and right field for, 2 or 3, 4 more years. And then you get Alec Thomas and Christian Robinson mixed in there possibly.
Yeah, they're in a completely different spot here than I think it was the Padres are talking about, who are kind of like landlocked with prospects. And, you look at them and it's like, yeah, so once they get developed 2, 3 years down the road, Calhoun, Peralta, they're walking out the door and leaving the door open for Thomas and Robinson. So I think they've done a great job with the timing of, the prospects, their development. They don't have to rush these guys through their development and getting up to the major leagues. Like, we need you now. They have plenty of talent up in the starting lineup for them to take their time, do what they have to do, and when they're ready, we'll give them the call. And
Yeah,
there's a
I
spot
mean,
for them.
overall though, I mean, this Diamondbacks team is really, it's one of the most well-run organizations in baseball. They just know what they're doing. Mike Hazen, their GM, he's a young guy. He's been really impressive. I saw him interviewed on MLB Network a few months ago during the winter meetings, and I was just listening to him talk about this organization, and that's really what got me going with this Diamondbacks team. And I was like, he's talking about this team. He's really catching on to something. I know he's their GM and he has to advertise their team, but at the same time, I mean, he's right. They've got some pieces here. They've got 7 of their 8 hitters above league average. Not a lot of teams can say that. They got rid of Goldschmidt and Greinke, and somehow, some way, they win 85 games in 2019. And to me, we'll get to this. I give them an A for the offseason, and I think they're the first wild card team finishing in second place in the NL West. They were the first wild card team in the National League, according to me. What about you, Steven?
Yeah, I'm right with you on the offseason. I think they did a great job going to get Madison Bumgarner, a guy that the Dodgers can't seem to get away from. And so he's going to be following them. You'll see him in the weekend series and everything.
Yep.
And getting Starling Marte, Rondon, Calhoun did a great job in the offseason, bolstered this lineup, and just building it for a playoff run and trying to compete with the Dodgers. I have them in second place in the division, and I'm right with you with the wild card prediction. I think they'll be right there. They're going to be the benchmark for those wild card teams in the bubble. Where do they want to be? I think they're going to be a dangerous team to look out for them. They could sneak up on teams if this pitching staff exceeds expectations. They could catch the Dodgers. Would be a tough task, but definitely the first wild card for sure.
Well, you'll get to see how good that Dodger team is tomorrow on the podcast. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of different places. Follow us on Strict Sports FAU on Twitter as well. And that'll do it for this Arizona Diamondbacks 2020 season preview. We want to thank you all for listening. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. For Stephen Cash, I'm Jacob Brown, and we'll see you next time.